Welcome back to my channel. Okay, in this video, we are going to be talking about all things personality. Does your personality match your city? Okay, so this was inspired. You may have seen my short or my reel or my TikTok if you follow me on any of the platforms. But there was a lady who created a post saying that some of you girlies may be California girlies, but you're in Texas. You may have some New York girlies, but you're in Mississippi. You may have some, I don't know, LA girlies, but you're in Idaho. So does your city actually match your personality? Because we all have different styles, different aesthetics, different vibes that we bring to the table. But especially for my small town folks here, y'all know that the vibes ain't always vibing in the city near you. So the idea is to, relocate to the vibe that you match, because you will be more received there. You'll be or better received there. And obviously, with me being an astrocartographer, I couldn't pass up the chance to elaborate. I feel like that is one of the main points of astrocartography is like there are potentials all around the world based on your birth chart and your astrocartography map that you can tap into. But sometimes, depending on what phase you're in your life, one city is going to pair very well with you. And then as you move into this next phase, a new city will pair with you much, much better. Now, what do I mean? First of all, if you're unfamiliar with astrocartography, do me a favor and click the link in this description where I'll elaborate on what astrocartography is. It'll take you to my blog, and I have a whole blog post explaining that. I also will link a previous video that I've done breaking down what astrocartography is, what the lines mean, etc., etc. But for this video, we're gonna pretend that you know. And if you don't, pause, come back. Cool. Okay, so so you're matching your personality with, the potential that you're trying to tap into, the phase of life that you're trying to tap into. And for those of you who can't move, we'll also talk about local space lines and how to tap into those. You may also be near a paran, which is like a horizontal line where two astrocartography lines cross somewhere in the world. That energy will expand all across the globe. And if you just saw that big white shadow expand across my background, that is Mr. Sammy, one of my dogs. My animals love to make appearances in my YouTube videos. It's like they see me set up the camera and they're like, okay, yeah, we're ready, girl. But anyways, so a great example would be, you're a fair maiden, you're living your life, you may get married or you may be partnered, and then you suddenly become a mother. So the city that you're in may be very fast paced. It may be very single person or, younger crowd oriented, to where it's not really the best place to start a family or raise children. So you may have this inkling to move further out or just completely change vibes. I see that a lot. So you may go from lines, or you may start to resonate less with like ascendant and descendant lines, which would be like the ascendant is going to be somewhere near your first house. The descendant line is going to be somewhere near relationships. So think like the other person, partnerships, friends, marriage, things like that. It's not just strictly those things, but it's a heavy emphasis on those types of lines. Versus you may start looking at more icy lines and, starting like the home life, starting a family. Now, again, you can start families on any of these lines. You can find relationships on any of these lines. These are just examples. So bear with me. Like for a Cersei line, a lot of this stuff as far as like family and nurturing and things like that will be supportive, as well as moon lines. So it just depends on you and your chart. I'm being very, very, very generic here. But that is an example of how one city could start to resonate with you in a whole new way depending on the phase of your life, which brings me to my next point, and that is timing. But let me back up. So you have the different types of lines that you could go from resonating with And then, like I said, you could also be on some type of paran, or you could move. Let's say like you're in Houston, but within the metro Houston area, you may have other cities there that has where you have parans. So maybe in Houston, you're on like a Mars Sun paran where it's like you're just ready to go, go, go. You feel energized, you feel motivated to get everything done, start projects. But after a while, this energy starts to feel like, okay, certain parts of the day, I'm feeling a little drained. I'm feeling a little fatigued. So versus if you move closer to a Venus moon paran, I don't know why I still have the two up, but if you move closer to a Venus moon paran, this may be more supportive for, finding your community, again, nurturing, furthering your relationship, starting a family, be able to, be the mother, but still be the maiden with your husband, or wife or a partner. So all these things you can take into account with parans. And the last example would be local space lines, number 3. So with local space lines, that is really where we can play around with the place that we are. This is great for people who aren't looking to relocate or who may not be able to travel, because we all have local space lines going out from the place where we were born, but you can relocate those local space lines to the city that you are in. So local space lines are a bit different than astrocartography, which I guess I should probably make a video on the difference. But local space lines, they are literally just like the trajectory, like based on the city that you're in. And if you were a compass, like using your body as a compass, that's why it's local space lines. So it's gonna be what lines are you projecting based on your energy. So if you're in the city of Houston, maybe you have a moon line going north, you might have a Mars line going east, you might have a Venus line going south, and then you might have a Mercury line going west. So if you were like, oh my God, I want to start, I just had this baby, just going with the family example. I just had this baby, I want to start working out, getting into the gym. Or even if you decide, I'm a corporate girly, but I haven't been prioritizing my health. You can find gyms towards that Mars line to help maximize your workout results, since Mars rules like the body, working out, willpower, things like that. So you may notice better results versus if you would have gotten a gym along the moon line or something like that. You might feel like, okay, if I'm not emotionally motivated, then I'm not going here. So those are several examples of how you can use your local space lines to maximize your results. I talked a little bit about this in my latest blog post it's the latest as far as like me recording this video, where I have been playing around with astrocartography, strictly mainly like remote activation or local space lines, where I use my Mercury local space lines. I would go to coffee shops and build my website, number 1, but then write my blogs along this journey. I used the whole month of July of 2025 to play around with astrocartography in different ways. If you're interested in that, then check that out on my blog, because that's a nice example as well of how I've used astrocartography to further my business. So there are several different ways that you can do this. Local space line, let me just, a little tidbit. Local space line is more of locational astrology. It's technically not under astrocartography, but many astrocartographers tend to use it within their readings, especially if they're doing timing, because it helps add more context, especially if you really want to zoom in and have emphasis on the city that you're going to. Okay. But just going back to the whole matching your personality, your timing. So let's talk about timing. So again, you could be in different phases of your life. Like maybe you're in high school right now, getting ready to go to college. A lot of people start to look at Mercury lines and Saturn lines for college campuses and potential college locations. That's a great way to use those lines because, Mercury obviously is communication, is learning, is writing, all of these things. And then Saturn is more structured, it's discipline, long-term planning, doing things for the long haul. So those lines will be very, very supportive for that. Obviously, again, I'm always going to preach, check your own chart, check your relocated chart, check your aspects, etc., etc., etc. But as you throw timing into the mix, so let's say you find a college on your Mercury line, but then around the time or during that whole time you're 4 years there or 2 years there or whatever, whatever program you're going for, you can be aware of what transits are going over the area, so over that college campus, because you do have lines that transit over, progressions that transit over. So it'll be nice to know those things while you're there, so you don't freak out and have this moment of like, oh my God, like I knew I shouldn't have listened to that crazy lady on YouTube talking about go there Saturn line when everybody talking about Saturn line, the big bad wolf. Maybe, just maybe, it's not the Saturn line itself, but maybe you have a Chiron or a Pluto line or a Mars line going over that city that is near your Saturn line. So keep all these things in mind when you are playing around with relocation. I will always recommend really deep diving into your charts, your map. If you want to play around with local space, do that as well. Really do your best to inform yourself. I have a lot of blog posts to help you do this. And of course, if you need assistance, I'm always here to guide you. You can book a reading with me, you can book a report with me, and let me know the specifics, and I can try to work with you from there. So I hope this video makes sense. Definitely, explore with this. As you interact with the astrocartography lines, you're going to find more and more things that are relative or to you and that really work for you versus just the generic description. I would also recommend checking out, what houses what signs occupy your houses and what planets may occupy your houses. Good houses to look at within your birth chart for any type of travel, whether it's relocation or definitely like vacation or even short-term commute, will be your 3rd and 9th house. Your 3rd house will be closer to your everyday life, your community, short-term commute, like short-term travel, weekend trips, things like that. And then your 9th house will be more foreign affairs. That will be international trips, going further out, things like that. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Of course, subscribe, like, share this, and I'm happy to help. But I hope this video makes sense, and let me know if you feel like you're in the right city right now, or if you feel like you're interested in relocating somewhere else. Like what city does your personality match? Okay, I'll see you in the next one.